Digital fundraising and AI are failing your organization. Here's why. Obviously, with AI being the most popular topic, not just in fundraising, but across every industry right now, of course we're going to talk about it. And I would imagine that even in 6 months, maybe a year, with how fast things are moving, this video may be even out of date. But here we are in the year 2025, and we want to talk about this kind of full circle moment that we've had, the whole evolution of fundraising. And to do that, we need to understand how fundraising started, how it's evolved, how that's kind of spearheaded this series of changes that we've had from digital fundraising into AI, and then how that's kind of come back all the way around to our original roots and kind of taken us back to the beginning of the absolute basics. So hopefully what you can take away from this video is not just what to think, but some things that you can take away that are actionable and improving your fundraising at your own organization just based on how the industry is moving as a whole. So in the very beginning, fundraising was just tribalism. It was just the case that if we could pool our resources together, we would be stronger and everyone would be better for it. Kind of the apes stronger together, if you will. Having a little bit more specialized labor or having someone having a specific need, the community could kind of rally around and help that person with that need. Like this person doesn't make food or they have a job that doesn't require food making, so the rest of the village is going to provide them with food because they're the blacksmith or whatever. You know, in the beginning, it was much about just kind of pooling resources, getting out of our individualism, sort of into tribalism, and it was very much just word of mouth. It was me asking you for something, or me asking a person face to face for some sort of an offering with seemingly nothing in exchange. Just like, because you're helping me, I'll be able to help the community, and that's better for all of us. It's the opposite of sort of egocentrism, you know, collectivism, if you will. Obviously, some of the original fundraisers tended to be in the religious space, the same kind of thing, where the church or some version of the religious institution didn't necessarily have a way to make money. They weren't necessarily offering paid services, so everyone had to tithe or had to pool their money together to make the church building exist, or to pay the staff, or to pay the priest, or make sure the priest could have food, their family could have food. So this was kind of the very, very early origins of this. And I promise if you stay with me, this will make sense. We will come all the way back around to AI. The first official fundraising campaign that was kind of noted as this before this was an industry at all that we know of was Harvard back in 1643. Yes, Harvard, the educational institution, one of the oldest and probably most prestigious colleges, not just in the US, but in the world. I believe they raised around like $500 or 500 pounds. Not very big by today's standards, obviously, but for the time and for the inflation, pretty good. So we kind of moved from this tribalism to unpaid services. And these unpaid services had some sort of community value. So we would have these face-to-face conversations, and they would go out and they would ask for money. Now this was very much a one-to-one ask. Tribalism, pretty much one-to-one. Unpaid services, pretty much one-to-one, because that was the type of communication that we had available to us at that time. There was no postal system, there was certainly no electricity or internet, so fundraising at its roots, at its most successful when it was in the very beginning, was just people asking people for things. And it was pretty effective. We were able to survive in much harsher conditions than we have now, was this sort of unpaid services piece, this one-to-one. Fast forward to the 20th century, and you have this emergence of charities who could then go one to many. The first beginnings, the first origins of one to many. This looked like throwing events where you'd have wealthy people all come to one place, and they'd be a ball or a party, kind of the early gala structure that we have now, and the wealthy people would pool their money and they would fund a thing. We also have the first instances of mail. You know, we have a full mail system where people could send letters and ask for money and beg for things through mail, and you didn't have to go face to face, one person to ask for money. So we have this kind of initial emergence of one to many over the 20th century. As additional technology got invented, things like the telephone, we moved even further into what we call telefundraising. I don't know if that's a word, but you know what I mean when I say telefund, like telephone fundraising or one to many in this way. And in telefundraising, we could have one person ask quite a few people for money, or there might be radio advertisements or radio fundraising. And what we're seeing here is a slow departure from the person-to-person, the peer-to-peer, and the face-to-face fundraising. It used to be you had to ask one person for help, and then there was kind of an institution that you would ask for help and everyone would kind of pool it that way. And then you have kind of letters and balls and events and that kind of one-to-many. It's still kind of face-to-face, but you're still kind of soliciting many. And then we have kind of the emergence of telecommunications, where we have radio and telephone, and again, even further one-to-many. And then we have digital. Now, digital gives us the power to go one to way more many. So this is one-to-many also, but on a scale that we have not yet seen. One to many, where suddenly you could send an email or post on a website or send a tweet. We see the rise of things like crowdfunding or Facebook campaigns, all these ways where one person can do one action, and then that action on its own can go out and solicit people. Again, getting even further from the face-to-face thing. And what we've lost in that is kind of the human element. And AI, being the latest trend on that, has taken this even further. Like, there's an unbelievable amount of customization in the ads that you receive. Even just watching this video. By watching this video, you are still curating the type of content that's going to be served to you in the future. And advertisers are able to collect that data and serve you ads for specifically the things that you are already interested in. So as we've gotten further and further and further from the person to person, and it's starting to get better where, okay, not only is it not person to person, but it is a little bit custom now. And AI can imitate human behavior. AI can imitate human speech, both text and voice. And it's going to get to the point where it's so saturated with this concept that what we're going to see is it come back to this one-to-one. Give it 10 years, and predictably in the industry, AI, fundraising, solicitation, all of that will be so advanced that people will expect their solicitations to be incredibly customized. If you're getting an email, it's gonna have all of your information, it's gonna have your name, it's gonna have your preferences, your history with that organization, things that you've clicked on, things that you've donated to, other organizations. It's all gonna be on these digital profiles. And what that does is it makes every experience feel that custom. We're used to being advertised in this way. As advertising is getting incredibly more pigeonholed towards the things that we like and the things that we know are going to work, we kind of become desensitized to it. So the only response to this is to head back kind of full circle to this tribalism one-to-one. Because we're going to be so saturated with the AI piece of this, the hope is if charities want to continue earning funds through private individuals, they have to really double down on that one-to-one. The in-group behavior, the tribalism, and of course the face-to-face. Another trend that we've seen is kind of the middle-class giving begin to fall off just a little bit. We have fewer donors than before, but the number of dollars given away is going up. So as the middle class starts to give a little bit less, and we're getting a little less crowdsourcing with our income, with our fundraising, it becomes even more important to talk to those quote unquote elite, or the top 10% who give away most of the money in this country, and find ways to connect with them on a more human level that can't be replicated by AI. Hey, thanks for checking out our video. If you're getting value out of this but would like something more personalized, you can book 30 minutes with one of our experts to see if you qualify for our support services. Link below in the description. So, given all of these trends and given this evolution, what are the things that we know to stay the same and that we know to be true across the board that aren't going to change, even though we have a lot of changes happening now and ahead of us? Number one is major gifts. Critical that we focus on our top donors. It used to be the case that we're probably 80-20, so 80% of the people gave away 20% of the money, 20% of the people gave away 80%. We are now well past this. We're closer to 90-10 now, just based on the data for the last couple of years. So now only 10% of the people give away 90% of the money in the US, and vice versa. So if we're still focusing on each of these boxes individually, and we're not putting more effort into this top 10%, our fundraising is going to go down. So major gifts being a huge disproportionate piece of fundraising that really can only be done properly face to face, kind of moving through that circle all the way back around. Major gifts being number one. Number two is stewardship. Based on the numbers from 2024, it looks to be that donor retention rate, so donors who gave 1 year and then the percent of those people who gave again the next year, is around 40%. Not great. not a great percentage. So more than half of donors who support a charity one year don't support them the next year. If there was a business that only retained 40% of their customers, they would be super bankrupt super quickly. But apparently this is the standard for charities now. It doesn't take a whole lot to do the basics with stewardship. This is all of the cultivation efforts that we do following the first gift, or following any gift really. It is on average, and this is another great stat to share, 5 to 7 times more expensive to acquire or to attain a donor for the first time than it is just to keep your existing donors. So much easier from a staff time perspective, from being able to upgrade people through different gift sizes. They give more over time if we do the right things. So really it's just about spending a little bit of time with stewardship. Again, face-to-face, handwritten cards, personal phone calls, the things that would be very difficult for AI to replicate. Incredibly important just to focus a little bit on this piece. The best advice we have for this is always just to block a little bit of time. So instead of saying I'm going to do this many stewardship activities per week, just say I'm going to spend 2 hours on stewardship per week, assuming I have a 40-hour work week with fundraising. So yes, I want to do all the things I have to do with major gifts. Maybe we have an event, apply for grants, all the stuff that we have. But I'm going to protect a little bit of time for stewardship so that those donors that I have, I don't have to spend 5 to 7 times the amount of time, money, effort, and energy to find new ones than to keep the existing ones. And the final piece is recognition. Now, a little bit of difference between stewardship and recognition. A lot of times these are interchangeable. It is things that you do to recognize the gift or to thank for the gift after the gift is given. Stewardship we think about as personalized and specific to the donor. The goal is to retain that donor and make sure that we are expressing the correct gratitude and maintaining that relationship with the donor. Recognition is everything that we do publicly. So yes, some of the things we do in recognition may also be stewardship, but the real reason we do recognition is to draw attention to the program. We want to say, look at all these people supporting us, and specifically look at these very high-profile people who've decided to back us. We're going to publish their names. We might put their name on a building, put their name on a room. Recognition is about endorsement and publication. So we say stewardship is for the donor, recognition is for the charity, but equally important. And it just kind of demonstrates, again, we're going back to the human element. So in recognition, we want to show volume of support, and we want to show specific names, and we want to put them as many places as we possibly can. There's also really good data about this practice as well. People want to give to a winning team. People say, well, we don't want to appear like we have too much money. I promise you, and we can look at large institutions to prove this, that charities with a lot of money don't discourage additional giving. Going back to Harvard, the original fundraisers back in 1643, they're still doing pretty well. They have such a large endowment fund from all their fundraising that they don't have to even charge tuition anymore. They certainly do charge tuition, but they don't have to because their pile of investments is so large. It's very prestigious to give to Harvard. They also have a lot of very successful alumni who do very well financially and they give back. Look at St. Jude, what a wonderful, large national brand. They also do really well financially, but again, prestigious to give to St. Jude, and people aren't discouraged because they think their mission is too inflated. Like there's no amount of money that can help kids with cancer. That's kind of the attitude that they have, and it works really, really well. So talking about being well off financially or not struggling or being stable as an organization is not a deterrent for people not to give to you. So we want to talk about all the people who are giving. We want to talk about our fundraising success because success then breeds more success for fundraising. So as you continue to learn about the new digital tools, crowdfunding platforms, AI advancements, all the things that can seemingly make fundraising easier or allow you to access even more people, I would encourage you instead to think about how can I scale down my fundraising in terms of volume of people and scale up my fundraising in terms of volume of dollars. So instead of trying to get the word out to as many people as possible, why don't we do a great job with it instead interfacing with one person, telling a story, and getting back to our roots in that tribalism one-to-one fundraising. I'll leave you with one more visualization on this. Say this is money on this side, and this is number of donors. Money is up and down, donors are left and right. So if we started as humanity down here in the fundraising, little money from little donors, over time, the tools allow us to get further and further this way on number of donors as we can communicate with more and more people. So of course, we're going to get a little bit more money over time, and it's going to grow this way. And this is the path that I think most charities try to take. How do I maximize the number of donors that I have here? Whereas really, we should not be trying to grow the number of donors at all, or at least not in the scale through that one-to-many communications that we've been focused on. But how can we end up in this box by having these one-to-one conversations and end up with more money in the long run by doing it that way? Is your nonprofit struggling to reach its fundraising goals? You can chat with one of our experts live for free at pridephilanthropy.com or by clicking the link in the video description.